Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So we've got a few horses that I'm interested in tomorrow, and the first couple, there's going to be two in this first race, is in the 250 at Newmarket. And I'm going to show you the ratings for this race. I won't show it for the rest because it's for premium and pro members only. The two horses that I like here are Silver Samurai and Admiral D. Now, Silver Samurai caught my eye a few runs ago now. I think it was back at York when he was never close enough to challenge the likes of Summergand and Comanche Falls. But those two have both gone on to do well since then. Summergand was rated 97, Comanche Falls was rated 109. After winning and finishing second there, Summergand went on to win a Air Gold Cup, and I believe Comanche Falls actually finished second. He did. So they went up in the handicap, and they both took each other on again, and both performed really well in the Air Gold Cup. Summergand, a race like that was always going to happen eventually for him. He'd just been a bit unlucky. But Silver Samurai chased home two really good horses that day. He then went to Ascot, and it didn't quite work in a much smaller field. He wants a big field because he can get himself a bit outpaced and a bit stuck behind runners before making good ground. I'm pretty sure we were on him in the Coral Sprint Trophy in October in 2022, and he was right out the back. He made good ground, and he didn't get a clear run towards the finish, and I think that cost him winning the race. He just needs a clear run and a good big field to help him get covered up early, and you don't see him for ages. With that in mind, if he gets the clear run, he's got the big field. He's had a fitness run. He finished 4th of 12 at Kempton, when again running exactly how you would kind of expect. Held up, ran on, never going pace to reach the leaders. I think he's going to go really close here in a race that's worth winning. It's 50 grand to the winner, 51. And yeah, I think 12 to 1, he's a decent price here. I think he's going to run a really big race. I'd be disappointed if he finished outside the top 5, to be honest. I think he's very... he's just been unlucky, and when it drops right, he will win a race like this. The second horse I want to talk about is Admiral D, who hasn't got the best of draws in 23. But I'm hoping that it doesn't matter too much, because here he's going to be dropped in, so he's going to end up, he's not going to be racing forward. He's going to move straight in behind a bunch of runners, and hopefully that can allow him to overcome that draw. He's a horse that stays on really strongly, and just needs things to fall right again. I think he's been a little bit unlucky, including in like the Air Gold Cup when he finished 7th. He's got some good form if he's raced from the back of the field. Again, he has had a fitness run 17 days ago. He finished 5th of 11, not beaten far, ran on at the finish, and I think there's a couple of really big positives for him. First of all, they put the cheek pieces on. Just going back, if you remember, I actually thought this horse could be a Lincoln horse. And I was wondering whether they were going to step up for the Lincoln. They tried him at Thirsk over 7. It didn't work. Although he was a bit of an eye-catcher that day. They then kept him at 7 for Doncaster. It didn't quite work. So I understand why they're dropping him back in trip. But just going back to the real positives about him. So he's had the fitness run. He's not... I think the draw is a negative, but he should be able to overcome that because of the way he's ridden. He's got the cheek pieces on for the first time, and we know how much that can really improve a horse. And he's got Jamie Spencer on. Now, Jamie Spencer rides these type of horses really, really well. He's one of the best jockeys from hold-up positions. And I think we'll see Admiral D sat on right out the back, not moving. Even with like 2 furlongs to go, a furlong and a half to go, you may still see Jamie sitting there motionless, hoping that he can wait as long as possible before asking for an effort from Admiral D. The fact that I think he can stay a bit further, when he does get going, hopefully he'll finish his race off really strongly. And I'm quite keen on both of those. I think they're both going to run big races on their in races that I believe they may have been targeted at early on in the season, having had fitness runs. Admiral D is currently 8 to 1, and I can totally understand that. I see where they're coming from with that. So I'm just going to turn off the rating so people can't see it, so give me a second. Okay, so the second race that I want to look at is the 305 at Goodwood. And the horse that catches my eye here is a previous eye catcher in Ferrasi Lane. Now, Ferrasi Lane had been highly rated, or rated as high as 92 previously. Not running off 92 yet, still down at 83, so £9 lower than his previous high. He had been disappointing without being completely woeful. He'd been dropping down the handicap slowly, and eventually they put the cheek pieces back on. And it worked back in October. He ran a good race for third at Windsor on soft ground, which I don't think really suited him. And before returning to the all-weather, and again they put the cheek pieces on in a handicap at Southwell, and he won. And if you watch that race, that was over 7 furlongs. If you watch the race, probably at 7 furlongs, I think it was 7.5 furlongs. It was 7 furlongs and 14 yards. 150 yards from the line, you didn't think he was going to win. And then he really got going towards the finish. And it was a really good performance, and demonstrated that he probably needed to be stepped up in trip. They stepped him up in trip at Lingfield over 1 mile and 2 for the all-weather Vars middle distance handicap. And he was really unlucky. Held up at the back, Rob Hornby sat on him very quietly. Never got a run. When he turned into the straight, Rob was just nudging him along to keep in touch with those just in front, but was waiting for a gap. It never came. He ended up only being beaten, I don't know, what was it, 2 lengths. If he gets a clear run at the half furlong pole or even the furlong pole, I think he wins that race. And the fact that the handicapper left him alone on 83 is very, very interesting. The cheek pieces stay on, which I think has really sparked him up. And if he travels like he did last time, hopefully this time with Holly Doyle on board, she will be able to find the gaps. And if she can find the gaps, I think Ferrasi Lane is going to go very close in this race. It's still a Class 2, so he's not taking on harder opposition or anything. So yeah, if he gets that clear run, I think Ferrasi Lane can go very close here. And he is currently, you can see he's a nice price at 7s. I thought he would be near. I thought he'd be this blue line here. He's not. He's the red, which is good. Means you can get a better price about him at the moment. Moving on to the 310 at Thirsk. If you follow my videos, you'll know who I'm going to say here, and I'm going to go for him again. And it is Stone of Destiny. Now, there's a few reasons again for Stone of Destiny. So, first of all, he's down to a winnable mark. Formerly rated as high as 106. He's down to 73. I was a big fan of his last season. He ran a reasonable race when he was 4th, beaten 4 lengths at Doncaster. He'd also finished 4th a couple of runs before that at Goodwood, not beaten far. And these were off marks of 83 and 87. Since running at Doncaster on good ground, when he was 4th, beaten just 4 lengths off 83, he's gone on to the all-weather, and I don't think the all-weather suits him. And then last time out, he returned in a ground staff appreciation handicap, ironically on soft, heavy ground. He was out the back, never got involved, and dropped another couple of pound. The ground was against him that day, so I don't think he wanted those all-weather runs. And I don't think he wanted the heavy going. He gets good ground tomorrow at Thirsk. And with that in mind, off 73, in the Coronation Trophy, where Stone of Destiny, I believe that's something to do with the ceremony that for the coronation of King Charles III. So I am very keen on Stone of Destiny to run a really big race here off a low weight, a mark he can definitely win off, and I wonder whether they might have set this one up. Unfortunately, at the time of recording, this is the odds. Nobody's priced him up, so we'll have to see what odds he comes out at. Hopefully he's not the favourite. I mean, Bet365 forecast is 12 to 1. If he's 12 to 1, that's a great price. But they also forecast one who's running later today at Newmarket. They forecast him to be... What did they forecast him to be? 20 to 1. He's 7 to 2. So the forecasts are rubbish. But yeah, I'm hoping that he's not favourite. If he's anything above 5s, I think Stone of Destiny is a good bet here. Moving on to the 440 at Newmarket, the Guineas. Now, I don't think I'm as good in graded races or group races as I am in handicaps. I think I can spot well handicapped horses. But I do like one here, and it's very, very unoriginal, but I'm going to give my explanation as to why I think he will win. And that is Auguste Rodin, the favourite. The favourite for Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore. Now, he's currently available at 7-4. And you can see that the second favourite is Little Big Bear, who is his stablemate. Now, Ryan Moore will know which of those is the best two, out of Auguste Rodin and Little Big Bear. He'll also know that how highly rated Aidan O'Brien has Auguste Rodin. They believe he's one of their best chances to win the Triple Crown, as in the is it called the Triple Crown? To win the Guineas, the Derby, and the St Leger. And I totally understand why. I think he started off over 7 at the Curragh, and then 7 again at Naas, and then stepped up to a mile for Leopardstown and a mile in Doncaster for the Group 1 at the end of the season. Now, that's the type of profile I like for the Guineas. The type of profile I don't like for the Guineas is 6 furlongs, 5 furlongs, 5 furlongs, 6 furlongs, 6 furlongs. That doesn't make sense to me. Why do you think a sprinter is then suddenly a Guineas horse? Now, it could be that Little Big Bear has just been beating those horses in sprints, and yet he actually wants further. But I don't believe it. I think Aidan O'Brien knows what type of horse he has. He started him in a sprint, and I think he'll drop him back to sprinting afterwards. I think Little Big Bear will end up going back to the sprint races after maybe travelling well, getting there, and then fading late on. Whereas Auguste Rodin is going to do the opposite. He's going to be strong at the finish. Aidan O'Brien has also, in recent years, he's had 5 horses that have won the Group 1 at Doncaster run in this race. 3 of those have gone on to win it. The 2 that haven't were Luxembourg and St Nicholas Abbey. Obviously, St Nicholas Abbey probably needed further. I think he started his career over a mile as well, suggesting they thought he would want further. He turned up in this race with a chance, but almost we have to go for the Guineas. Whereas, really, if he hadn't won the Racing Post Trophy, you would have probably said he would have started over a mile and 2. Luxembourg, I know there was issues in the build-up, so I can kind of forgive him a little bit. So if you take those 2 out for different reasons, they're actually 3 from 3. Now, I know they're not 3 from 3 because you don't just take horses out because you can find angles as to why they got beat in hindsight. But I mean, the likes of Magna Grecia. Who was the other one? Magna Grecia. It was another one I liked, the next one. Let me just quickly load it up. Magna Grecia won it. Who won it the year before for Aidan O'Brien? Saxon Warrior. All horses that did okay afterwards, for sure. But I think the thing with Saxon Warrior even, he went up to a mile and a half straight away afterwards. He went from the Guineas to the Derby. They thought he was, he needed the trip. And I just think that this year, it's almost like Magna Grecia against 10 Sovereigns again. 10 Sovereigns was a sprinter that then tried the Guineas because he'd done everything in sprinting trips. They then dropped him back to sprinting trips afterwards, 10 Sovereigns, after finishing 5th in the Guineas, which Ryan Moore rode. He obviously believed it would stay. They then dropped him back for the Commonwealth Cup. They then ran in the July Cup, and then they ended up in the Nunthorpe. So they'd gone from, at the beginning of the season, thinking they had a Guineas horse to ending up running in a Nunthorpe. And I think that's what might happen with Little Big Bear, whereas I think Auguste Rodin will end up going further, and, well, he will go further, and I think that's why Ryan Moore's picked him. They know he'll stay. And yeah, I think the fact that Aidan O'Brien almost has he's got the front 2 in the market. Ryan knows which one's going to stay the trip well. And I think that Auguste Rodin could well do this treble of the Guineas, Derby and St Ledger, because his preparation or his plan has been good. 7, 7, 8, 8, 8, maybe 10, 14, 12, 14. Whereas horses that go 5, 5, 6, 5, 8, that doesn't work. And horses that start at a mile and try and go up, by the time they get to the 3-year-old, they're already too slow for that mile and they need further. So I'm quite happy with Auguste Rodin in the Guineas, and I think he's going to be he's the one to beat for sure at 7-4. And the final one I want to talk about is in the 550 race. I don't actually have the market open for this. Let me just load it up. Is in the 550, and that is annoying. That is annoying. 6-4 and 7-4. What was he a minute ago? 7-2, 3s. That's really annoying. I'm going to hope that he drifts back out. Let's hope that some tipster tips up Yakovlev, because Striking Star had done nothing wrong. Last time out, he bumped into a horse who I think is going to probably run and potentially win the French Derby. Theory of everything. Nothing wrong with that as a defeat. He got beat by him, giving him £7. And yeah, I think Striking Star will win this. It's only a 86 as the highest rated horse in this race, Yakovlev, and I think Striking Star would win this. That's super disappointing to see that price now. So he's not going to be one that I'm going to talk about for too long. I think he wins, but I'm hoping for a bit of a better price than that now. So let's just quickly go back over those. Admiral D will be weighted with by Jamie Spencer. Hopefully he can go pick his way through. Silver Samurai, Daniel Muscat might as well sit next to Jamie and follow him and track him and do exactly the same. Farasi Lane with a clear run and Holly Doyle on board. I think if he finds those gaps he can pick up nicely. Stone of Destiny, I'm waiting for a price, but hopefully this has been a bit of a plan with the race title and everything, and back on the turf on good ground. I think Auguste Rodin wins the Guineas. I think Ryan Moore will know what type of horse he has there, and I think he might have a very, very good horse there. And finally, Striking Star, but I want a better price than 6-4 and 7-4, thank you. So there's my thoughts. Hopefully we can have a good couple of days, a good day, and I might be back tomorrow with some analysis for Sunday.